freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 526 of Gun Freedom Radio, where we engage, we educate, and we inform. We are brought to you by Pot of Gold Estate Auctions. That's POGauctions.com, where you set the price on guns, coins, ammo, accessories, antiques, collectibles, cars, boats, you name it. POGauctions.com. I am one of your hosts, Cheryl Todd.
And I'm the other guy, Dan Todd. Our theme today is Dawn Before Darkness, and our guest is Liz Lazarus. Liz is the author of Free of Malice, Plea of Justice, Shades of Silence, and her most recent one, Dawn Before Darkness.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to have you back on, Liz Lazarus.
I think I've taught you for every book launch, so I'm glad to be back. Thank you.
Absolutely. I remember one of our conversations, you had a little kitty cat crawling on the back of your chair, having her debut on the show. And I thought that was so sweet and so fun. Because writers, you do a lot of your work, I'm sure, from home, right? This is a work from home kind of a deal.
True. Yes.
Absolutely. So Dawn Before Darkness, this is the fourth. It's not where it's a series where one book builds on the other, right? Each one kind of stands on its own.
Right. They're standalone. You can read them in any order, although I hope they keep getting better. So the fourth one we hope is better than the third and so on.
I am certain. But Dawn Before Darkness begins kind of as a romance, right? Kind of a fun little story, but it soon transforms into a legal thriller and a suspense novel. So what inspired this story, and what real-world issues were you hoping that readers might recognize beneath the fiction?
Well, thank you for that. Yeah, this started as a stalker story. And the reason for that was I had met Dawn Hillier, who you may know. She has Hiding Hilda. And she took on that business because she had a stalker. And so I'd always planned that I would fictionalize her story. And I put out the word, in addition to talking to her, on Facebook, asking for anyone who had a stalker that was willing to share. I'd love to interview them. And I ended up interviewing about 10 women who had stalkers. And that created my supervillain. But at the same time, and this was not necessarily planned, I was battling for guardianship of my mom. First against a family member, a close family member, and then later against a total stranger, which I would not have thought possible had I not lived it.
Wow.
And so writing for me has always been cathartic, and it was also educational because I found myself in a legal quagmire I did not expect. My mom got trapped in a guardianship. And so the book morphs a little bit to that story. And so the plot of it is Dawn starts dating a guy who she thinks is Mr. Perfect, and catches him in a lie, breaks up the relationship, and he begins to stalk and harass her. So that's where the stalking part comes in. But then to make matters worse, he sues for guardianship and conservatorship of her mother.
Wow.
And you may say, well, that's not possible. He's not a family member. Well, that's what happened to me. A non-family member sued me for guardianship of mom. And we ended up having to go to court. So that plays out in the book.
That is just crazy to think that is not a made-up story. And, one of the central themes, as you say, is exploitation of the vulnerable. So your mom, she's just sitting there living her life, and all of a sudden she's wrapped up in something like this. That there are vulnerable seniors that through guardianship and conservatorship system, things can go very, very wrong. Why is this an issue that more Americans should understand? And what warning signs should we be looking for?
I think it's something that people don't think about till they're in it. And there's so few rules around guardianship. The way mom was originally taken away was that the judge ruled due to discord within the family, because my family member originally sued for guardianship and conservatorship. And the judge said, well, due to discord in the family, mom would be put under this third party guardian. And, the woman that was the guardian, she had no training, no professional credentials. The only credential she had, an LPC, had expired, no medical background. And then I think at part of the time, she wasn't even living in the same state. And so the fact that mom, by one judgment, one ruling, could be put under a third party, and then I had no longer any say-so in her health care.
Wow.
And so to your question, how does this happen? There are more and more families I'm finding out that are in these similar situations, especially if there's money involved. And this part of why I ended up fighting a stranger was the original guardian resigned after a couple years. And I thought maybe it was because I was being persistent, but I also found out that she was being sued by other families. So she resigned, nominated a successor guardian, and then my family member didn't put her hat in the ring. So I then was fighting the successor guardian.
Oh my gosh.
So, but I came to know of other families who were in a similar situation. And one of the stories I write about, a fictional story in the book, came from a New Yorker article where a woman had been taken and put under a guardianship before her children were even informed.
Oh
So
my
it's
God.
it's probably out there more than we realize.
How could that happen? It just doesn't make sense to me.
It really is crazy. And, we are grandparents now, so it could actually be us, right? Before
Right?
too long, that we're the ones that are under the guardianship and what is the word? Conservatorship?
Conservatorship. So the guardianship is the healthcare, who's in charge of your healthcare. And it's like deeming that my mom was a minor. The same way a parent can make decisions about a child, the guardian makes the healthcare decisions about the elderly ward, and the conservatorship is the financial decisions. So
Wow.
there's two pieces of it, and
They control the money then?
family, they get to decide how the money is spent.
Wow.
And what's the advantage for them to do that?
Well, they get paid. The facilities where they choose to put the ward get paid. A lot, when I look at the lawsuit that I went through, I paid all my own legal fees. The guardian charged her legal fees to my mom's trust. The successor nominated guardian charged his fees to my mom's trust. The guardian ad litem, who was supposed to represent my mother, charged his fees to my mother's trust. I know I paid my own. Not many people paid their own fees, and I did, to get my mom out of the guardianship.
Did you get it out? Were you successful with that?
Finally, yes. What happened the first time I wasn't. The judge ruled discord within the family and put mom under this third party. That lasted for 3 years. When she resigned, we went back to court. That original judge who made the ruling recused himself, and because his father had been at the same facility. And I'm like, well, why did you make a ruling in the first place? But he recused himself. We ended up going to a different county. By then I had a new lawyer, and the new judge said, as daughter, I had priority. So he gave me originally temporary guardianship, and then I would have to apply to get full guardianship. But this took 10 years. In the book, this story happens very quickly, but this took 10 years, thousands of dollars. And I would have been okay with the original guardian, except I didn't feel like my mother was being cared for properly. And she was permanently injured when on this guardian's watch. And I wasn't okay with that.
Wow. That is just
doesn't
wild, Liz.
make
I am
sense.
so sorry you've been through that.
Well, and the reason I wrote this book and why it's so personal, especially the guardianship story, is because of this. I would have never dreamed this was possible.
Yeah.
And a few readers have read the book and said, well, yeah, I don't believe the legal part. And I'm like, oh, if you only knew, if you only knew, which is why I'm doing the PR around the book, so that people understand that Dawn's situation, where the stalker sues for guardianship of her mother, it can happen.
Yes.
I just don't see how they could use her money to fight the case. That's what's weird to me. But some of these lawsuits are weird anyway, but that they could use the money from her to pay for the fees.
Crazy.
That's terrible. I'm so
To
sorry.
fight me, her daughter. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. I mean, it seems like that would have been, like if you're talking about custody of a child, you kind of go to the mom or the dad first. You don't go to some outside person unless, there's a, claim of abuse or something like that with one of the primaries. It just seems wild to me that they, it's almost like third party was the original idea. And how do they have any investment in this person's well-being?
No standing. Now, I will say we challenged it and some of the legal fees were paid back. I don't believe all. Some of it were, but originally he was charging his legal fees to represent him to fight me for guardianship. And it was a little bit different when it was me versus a family member, but the second round was a complete stranger, no
Yeah.
standing in this case. And the thing is, nobody could prove that I wasn't responsible, capable, willing, not going to charge a guardianship fee. I mean,
Right. Right. That's wild. And I assume that relationship with the family member is probably not in a great shape.
it wasn't to start with, which is why the lawsuit started in the first place. But this was about doing right for mom and making sure she had the quality of care she deserved.
Well,
Absolutely.
Liz,
Well,
we've
thank you for
all,
doing that.
yes, we've all had these hardships in our life that if we handle it right, it makes us stronger. And what this did, it gave you the idea of to write this book. So I'm sorry you went through it, but it did help you with what you're doing now
We
to
help
move forward.
millions of other
Yes.
people who would never even think about this. Like I said, for our own selves, it's like we better have that family conversation now because we don't.
Seriously, and that's probably my biggest message from this is make sure that you have decided who your power of attorney will be, who's going to manage your estate, who's your personal representative, if you want to set up a trust, and have the conversation with your children so there's no confusion or resentment. And none of us are getting out of here alive, so you're doing them a grace by setting this up, and so it can't be challenged. And part of what happened in my mother's case, she was in her 80s, so even though she said what she wanted, her competence got challenged because she couldn't remember if she'd had breakfast, or she couldn't always remember, she didn't know who the president was, so she couldn't pass the competency test, even though what her desires were very clear, and she always knew who I was, and she knew where she was living, but she got declared incompetent, and when that happened, her wishes went out the window.
Wow.
It's
That-
terrible how families, I deal with a lot of estates, and it's terrible to see how families break apart when money or other issues are involved.
Absolutely. But
I did a
thank-
book talk, and there were about 300 women in my talk, and went up and I was selling the books afterward, and so many stories came up about family issues and guardianship issues, and so it's more prevalent than we realize. And by the end of the day, I was just like flabbergasted that I heard so many stories, similar stories, or some type of friction in the family that was causing problems.
So maybe more of those than stalker type stories coming out of your book. Say,
Actually, yes, crazy enough, yes.
isn't that interesting? And it is it's a form of self-protection to make sure that you have the guardianship and the trust and the everything else. And it's right in line with, of course, we want to protect ourselves with our firearms and our training, but this is something that I don't know that enough people are even thinking about. So I really, again, I'm sorry you went through that, but I'm so grateful that you put it out in a way that you have in Dawn Before Darkness.
And you're right. My themes have always been around self-protection, especially for women. They typically have to do with physical self-protection and situational awareness and that type of thing. But this is an equal kind of self-protection. And of all the things I've been through, it was really the hardest type of self-protection that I had to learn about.
Absolutely. And so that kind of leads into the next question is that Dawn in the book survives because she is prepared. She keeps her wit about herself under pressure. She has multiple layers of protection, including technology, a loyal dog. I definitely consider, even though they are a couple of goofy cocker spaniels,
Wait.
they are part of.
We need to edit this and take that dog thing complete out of the story, because the only thing they're going to do is make you fall.
That's maybe
Okay,
trick
that's
me
it.
on my way
Yeah,
running
right.
away from the bad guy.
So we're going to take the loyal dog out of it. Go ahead.
I'm I'm serious. I think my dogs, because they hear what I don't hear, they smell what I don't smell. Um,
They hear what they don't hear.
well, that's true. And ultimately, Dawn has the ability to fight back. What message were you hoping to send about personal safety, about resilience, and about self-reliance?
Well, she is a bit naive in the beginning, getting trusting this guy who turns out to be her stalker in the first place. But I made her in her 20s, and so I would have done maybe the same naive thing in my 20s, being too trusting. But there is a technology, and I based it on a real app that is now defunct, but there are other apps that are like it. And it's in the book, it's a safety app which you can have on your phone, and when you tap it, it will begin recording the conversation that's happening, and it will send an alert message out. And I can't recommend one specific one, but there are several safety apps that exist like that now, which is such a good thing to have a pre-recorded list of people that you want to alert when you tap the button.
Mm.
And the technology is evolving because there are a couple companies now that are also making it voice activated. So if you can't get to your phone, you can say a catchphrase that activates that same alert.
Wow.
Oh,
And in the book, and part of why I make Dawn a vet tech is that she has a dog. It was not a dog she chose; he chose her. But he is a protective force in her life, and she does think more about her safety and firearms and should she have one. And so, for me, that was a good thought about what would she have done differently if she had had a firearm, because she doesn't.
Wow. That is interesting. And so through the story, is it giving anything away that she maybe does lean into having a that particular tool of self-protection?
Well, it addresses people who don't think one's necessary, I guess. And, to me, firearms are always a personal choice. You have to be ready, willing, and able and trained.
Hmm.
And what the reason I'm ready, willing, and able and trained goes back to my very first book when I was attacked in college. So for me, it's a form of self-protection that I want. But for her, and this is true for many people, they don't want that. They don't feel comfortable with it. But then she finds herself in a situation where she's defenseless. And what does she think after that?
Yeah, that is so interesting. That alone, you know, I think would cause people to go, well, let me read how this person, this Dawn person, kind of unpacked it to help me sort of decide for myself if some of my arguments are valid or if I could challenge them more. So I really like that. So, without giving away every twist, your novel reminds readers that corruption often involves networks of people, right? So, you've got the individual stalker, but then you've got this network of people with the courts and whatever. In your particular example, um, so why was it important to explore how systems can fail and how determined individuals can expose the truth?
Well, the book is relentless. And my husband had said to me, give Dawn a break, because once it starts, it is relentless. And I thought about it, but then I thought, I didn't get a break. So I'm not going to give her one. But the systems failed in a couple ways. The first way was just even trying to get a restraining order. And what I learned from the women that I interviewed who had stalkers, and many of whom had gotten a restraining order, they really didn't provide much protection. And a,
Mm-hmm.
and a smart stalker can get around some of the rules of a restraining order. So I was surprised to see how ineffective they were. So that was kind of my first learning of the legal system failing. And then the second one was just the fact that mom could be taken away so
Mm-hmm.
easily. And after the fact, the new judge said that discord within a family was not enough reason to strip her from us. But
Mm-hmm.
it happened at the time, and I didn't know better. So I think the legal system failed us there. And, I think the guardian ad litem failed us because he could find no fault with what I had done, yet still recommended a third party. I mean, that's just wrong.
Yes, absolutely. It's just wild. Um, so I want to give you a chance to kind of talk about your other books again without giving away their key twists or that sort of thing. But is there any common thread that kind of you found weaving through them, whether intentional or whether it just has kind of turned out that way.
They all have a few common themes. So far, they all have female protagonists. I might change that at one point. Although there is a detective that's a protagonist in the third book, but typically, a female protagonist. There's an arc of her growing and learning. There's always an element of self-protection, and I think educational while entertaining. And I've been told that a lot, that my books entertain, but people also learn. There's always a twist ending. I love the twist ending. I hope people don't guess it, but feel like, oh, it was justified in the end. And there's usually a social cause. So, this one is the guardianship and conservatorship. I've addressed sex trafficking, literacy, racism. So I like to tackle social causes as well.
Oh, that's really wonderful. And there is a lot of edge of your seat going on in this particular one, Dawn Before Darkness. And, thinking, wow, I'm sure I know what's up, right? And then you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have been so sure I know what's up. And I think that is always that's what's the page turner that keeps you going.
They're short chapters. So, you say just one more chapter, and the
Mhm.
pace is fast. And I found people get very invested in Dawn. She's a
Yeah.
sympathetic character. She's a vet tech. She cares for her mother. She keeps hitting obstacles. And I've had people say, just when you think it can't get any worse, it does, which is why this book is particularly relentless. And I apologize. Don't don't hate me for that. But I do want it. I want people to feel the emotion of how helpless I felt going through the process. I put that into Dawn, and so you will see that.
So these seem to me to very easily translate to, possibly becoming films. Have you talked about that at all? Have you had any opportunities for that at all?
Some, none that have fully panned out. I wrote a screenplay for the third one. I might write a screenplay for this one. I've had different producer types reach out to me. Nothing has felt quite right yet. But yeah, anybody who can help me get the right producer and the right process of, the director, the producer, the actors, just the whole package. I'll certainly give them a cameo if someone gets me in touch with the right people. But everyone has told, not everyone, a lot of people tell me these should be movies, and
Mm.
that's not something I have expertise in. So I will let that unfold the way it should.
And what is different between writing a book and writing a screenplay? Because I guess having no experience with any of it, I would think, well, the book is right there. What do you need something different, different dialogue or that sort of thing?
Screenplays are so different. I mean, first off, the book is a couple hundred pages. Screenplays are usually only 100 pages, and they're literally scene dialogue. And the goal is to let the director decide. So you basically, as an author, it's very hard. You strip out your descriptions. You strip out, the emotions the character's feeling, because you were just saying, here's the scene, there's the dialogue, and it's up to the actors and the director to discover the rest. And so most authors don't do their own screenplay for that very reason, because you're stripping out all the richness that you created. But it was an interesting process to learn how to do it.
So I know there's no way to have a favorite child, right? But do you have a favorite of whether it was your heroine, of whether it was, kind of, oh, that twist was like, I love that. Do you have any favorites between the four different experiences of writing the four different stories?
Well, I don't have a favorite child, which I know you can understand. But I do think my writing is getting better and the editing is getting better. And
Mm.
so I think each one is getting better, but more about me, my writing and the editing. And I take every editing note that I've had for 4 books and think about it as I'm writing the next book. So hopefully they just keep getting better.
I love it. And how about book number 5? What's developing on the horizon? Anything?
I have some thoughts, not fully formulated yet. I think the social cause might be homelessness and the hungry. Um,
Mm.
I like the idea of making a story about greed and money,
Mm.
because that's always a motivator. So I have some early thoughts, but nothing fully formed yet. It's almost like you can't even get there when the last one is still launching. I can't get there. Some authors do, but I can't. I got to put this one to bed before I can think about something else.
Well, we're sitting in the studio on July 28th, 2026. This just launched. Was it May that it
It was
launched?
May, yes.
And we were supposed to meet in May, and I messed up my calendar. So my
Don't
apologies to you.
No, don't. You were perfect. You're perfect. And it's good to still keep the story alive. So I appreciate that I still get to talk about it in July because May was such a flurry. So
Oh,
this is
yeah.
perfect.
Well, you're so gracious. Thank you. Are you still doing appearances? What's the best way for people to kind of like connect with you on the book?
Well, everything is on my website, lizlazarus.com, including chapters you can download, early chapters for free. So you can see if you like the opening. There's a snippet, about a 5-minute snippet of the audiobook. And then the ebook is discounted right now to 99 cents. And it's also on Kindle Unlimited. And that's going to be through August. So it's a good time to get it if you like ebooks. And then for appearances, I've been doing some book clubs. We did a lot of book boxes when the book first came out. So it was the book and a candy bar and a candle that went to Instagram bloggers. So that got it some good traction. But I'm always willing to talk to book clubs. And we're doing a couple more book boxes. And that's been the majority of the PR.
That
And
is,
podcasts, of course.
of course, of course. That is so cool. So I'm sorry, the audio book, is that you? Do you read it?
Oh gosh, no. I leave that to the professionals, and she is so good. The voice actress is named Jill Smith. Coincidence that Dawn Smith is the character, and she narrated my third book as well. And as soon as we had her for the third book, I'm like, well, I'm going to definitely ask you for the fourth because her voice it's easy to listen to.
Mhm.
Her differentiation between the characters is great. Her
Mm,
accents are great. She accentuates the words that I would as I'm writing it.
mhm.
So the audiobook is really, really good.
Oh, I love it. I just listen to so many audiobooks because I can have that in my ears while I'm driving or doing housework or something. I don't have as much time to just sit and love on the pages, but I will never give up my paper books either. So keep writing them.
Let me see this book here a second. I want to check. Oh, yeah. I have to tell you that when Cheryl and I first got married, she used to read a lot of true crime books,
Mhm.
and Liz, she highlighted stuff in them,
Does it
She
make you
did?
worried?
and it scared the
Sleep with
heck
one
out
eye
of me.
open.
That's what he was looking for. He's like, did she highlight things in
Yeah,
here?
yeah. So every once
No.
in a while, when I do something wrong, I'll look through her books and see if this relates to me.
That is not true, just for the record. All right, Miss Liz Lazarus, thank you so much for all of your work. I know that it's fiction, but it definitely ties into real life
Yeah.
and gives us so much to think about. So thank you so much for your wonderful books, and I can't wait to see what the next one is going to be. And I'll get my calendar right on that one. Have you come on when you're actually launching.
Well, it'll be a minute if and I always say after the last one, I'm not doing another one. I always say that. I said, well, I'm in that I'm not doing another one phase, but I'll get over it.
I love it. Well, thank you again so much. I hope you sell a gajillion of these. Tell folks one more time how the best way is to get one.
Well, go to my website, lizlazarus.com. It's LIZLAZARUS.com. It has links to Amazon, Barnes and Noble, all the places you can get one, and also, the samples and different formats, depending on what you like.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. We will talk soon.
Always a pleasure.
Absolutely. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So fun. So fun to take an idea
Right.
and develop, you know, individual characters with individual personalities, right? That you can predict as the story is going on. Well, what would Dawn say here or do here
I
or not do here and develop that out? That is not a skill I have.
I don't consider that book a fiction if they're using based off people.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's not her story,
Mm-hmm.
but it's kind of real.
Mm-hmm.
It happens. So there should be another name for a book like that, not a fiction book, because even though it changed the names and changed some of the stories, it's important that people read these kind of things because it could happen to you.
Absolutely. We could be in her mom's position. Any one of us could be in her mom's position.
Taking everything with me.
Well, you let me know how that goes for you, okay?
No, well,
Because I'm going first. That's the plan,
no,
right? Because
no.
I don't want to learn how to do taxes. So that's the deal right there. I have to go first. All right. So, wow, thank you so much to Liz Lazarus. I can't believe she's on her fourth book. I think I've known Liz for right at maybe 10 years, getting right at the 10-year mark. And to crank out four books in 10 years to me just seems like no way could I have done that.
Yeah,
But I love that she has included me in her little book tour through the podcast, or included us rather. I guess you're here too. Are you here too?
I'm not sure.
So thank you to Miss Liz. Thank you to all of our amazing viewers and listeners all over the planet, wherever there is internet. We have people that are hungry for the conversations and the topics that we cover here. Your time is your most finite resource, and the fact that you spend it with us, it's valued, it's noticed, it's everything. So thank you for that. Um, Thank you to the amazing companies that we get to collaborate with. We don't have actual sponsors, but we have companies that have come along beside us and said, we believe in what you believe. We share the same values. And so we think your listeners and viewers will share those as well. And so if they support our products through subscribing and buying, their products that are American made on American soil, supporting American jobs, then these companies will give a small portion to Gun Freedom Radio to support the travel when we travel around to go speak, when we do the work that we do with the show. And so when you are going to shop at a big box store, for example, so you're going to buy laundry soap, you're going to buy dish soap, you're going to buy shampoo, you're going to buy lotion, you're going to buy hamburger, right? Even some beef products this particular company has. Why give your money to companies that do not share your value and work diligently against your values? Rather, go to this particular company that we are inviting you because it's an invitation only shopping network. It is called patriothousehold.com/GFR for Gun Freedom Radio. So, Patriot Household, again, you can set your order and forget it for all the same stuff that you're going to run around to all those other stores, or you can just shop as you need it. It's going to show up on your doorstep, simple as you can, simple as you please. Great products. We would order them no matter what. We very much enjoy it. PatriotHousehold.com. Now, every one of us is running around with a cell phone in our pockets, right? So, our cell phones, and we're going to invite you to have your cell phones fueled by patriotmobile.com. So, I like to say even my selfies are fueled by patriotmobile.com/GFR. You get to keep your what, Dan?
Your phone number.
Yep. And how about the
Freedom.
equipment?
You get to keep your own equipment. Everything's the same. You don't even know it. You have your daughter do it. It's done.
Yeah, we had our
Yeah,
daughter switch us over, and it
yeah.
was so simple. But
That's what we have daughters for.
that's true. And now we have the freedom to know that our money is going to a company that absolutely shares our values. Patriot Mobile is the only Christian conservative wireless provider in the United States, and we are now proudly a member. So,
So talking about freedom,
mhm.
and this book, I haven't read it yet, but did Dawn, when I'm sure she saved herself, protected herself,
Mhm.
and I wonder if she had attorneys on retainer,
Well, if she didn't, the law is going to visit itself upon anybody who is performing self-defense or defense of others. That is
no
just
matter what, they're going to do it.
it's just the way that it plays out. In the movies, the hero gets to go home with his gun in his holster or her holster and walk off into the sunset. That is not the way it happens in real life. Pretty much everybody is going to go to jail at least for a night, and then the law and the judges and the courts will sort out who really was the good guy and who was the bad guy. So, you have your firearm, you have your training, get an attorney on retainer. Every adult in our household has an attorney on retainer subscription. I would suggest that you do the same. You can go to our website, gunfreedomradio.com, scroll down to the bottom, click the attorneys on retainer button, and every subscription that goes through there, you will have the peace of mind, and we will get a small portion of that.
I was talking to Spider-Man yesterday, and he's not real, but if he
Spider-
was, he's not real.
Okay.
But if he was real, he told me that he would have attorneys on retainer for a client. I mean, for
For web protection.
yeah, but to protect himself from defending. So that's what he said. So it's
I think is that the web or is this the web? I think this is the web.
careful what you're
Anyway,
doing there.
yeah, that's true. Throwing gang signs. All right. And so when you want to share this video so that your friends can be equally informed and equally prepared, then you can go to our website and listen to the audio only version, gunfreedomradio.com. Click the on demand tab and
Listen, you can binge listen to your heart's content, darling.
thank you. If you want to see the photos and links and bios of all of the subject matter experts and guests we've had on, including Liz Lazarus, then click the guest tab. That is an ever-growing database of wonderful people we've been able to interview. And when you spend time there, we don't hate that. If
Oh
you
my gosh. It's time.
to talk about where to find videos,
Oh, we're not there yet. Never mind. I thought it was time to pray for our nation.
well, we're getting there.
Oh,
But if you want
hurry.
to share this video, which I hope you do, with all of your friends, then you can go to any of the video platforms. Go to Rumble, YouTube. Now that we are out of YouTube jail, we've been there for the last 90 days for some unknown infraction. Then you please like, subscribe, hit the notifications, comment, share, do all of the things because that tells those platforms that this is valuable information, that this show is something you value, and it gives us a hedge against being canceled and against being put in jail for unknown crime.
So we're not in jail at YouTube anymore?
Nope, just
Is that
now.
why there's a bunch of yellow ribbons around the trees around the house? Is that what you
We
did
should
that
have.
for?
We should have. Seriously, it's been so crazy. But the thing is, so we've been in YouTube jail for so long that I've become accustomed to not even using them. And so I'm like, did they really hurt me or did they hurt them? Because if I can continue on just fine without them, then why are they important in my life? It's a weird concept that they think
Because I'll
putting
tell you
us
why
in
it's important.
timeout is
Because every time somebody clicks on that they like what we're doing, it puts a little more thought into should we really ban them? Should we really stop them from speaking the truth? Right? Because everything we speak is the truth,
absolutely.
except about the highlighting of the books that I told you earlier.
That's true.
But we do speak the truth. And if you speak up and tell YouTube that you want to hear this, then they won't cancel us.
That's the hope. So anyway, so you can find us on YouTube and Rumble and all of those places. And I think now it is time.
It's time.
Man. I think it's time.
It's time to pray for our nation. We need it
We
really
do.
bad. Let's
We
go.
do.
Let's do it.
And pray for our leaders.
Pray for our leaders too.
How about the ones that we don't really like? What about those ones?
I think my mic went out. Testing 1, 2.
I say especially the ones that frustrate us and that are not
Can you hear
really
me now?
public servants. Yes, I can hear you the whole time. So maybe pray especially for them. All right, gang, until next time, be good to each other. Have a great week and God bless.
Bye-bye.